Hey guys, welcome back. Brock and I are going to continue talking about free agency. So we're going to start talking about the running backs and their movement over the last couple of days. Starting with Saquon. Saquon signed a 3-year deal with the Eagles, 2 years guaranteed for 26 mil. The third year is an option by the team. Brock, what do you think about that?
I thought it was a great fit for Saquon. He went from the last offensive line in the league to the first, so that's going to be a huge help for him. He'll definitely get more carries, probably more openings that he can run into. Um, the one thing that I didn't really like was that for the Eagles' sake, it was a 3-year deal, which by the end of that puts him at 30, and that kind of um, puts me on edge a little bit because you everyone knows that the magic number is uh that big 30, the big for them. So that kind of makes me a little iffy, but the first 2 years I think will be great for Saquon.
Yeah, I like the fit too. I think he'll have a lot of room to run. Going from he had like a lot of plays where he had negative yards last year getting tackled in the backfield to one of the best O lines in the league in the run game. So he should have a lot of room to get around and get to the second level. The only thing is I'm concerned about fantasy wise is he going to be able to be an effective pass catcher in this offense because they still have Kenny Gainwell. And then goal line wise in the red zone, is Hurts still going to be punching in a lot of these sneaks and tush pushes if they still
Yeah.
perform that? So
Yeah, because I mean they're probably going to want to try and keep him as good as possible, and not put him in harm's way because he has had an injury history. So I mean, yeah, like you said, they're not going to want to give him the ball in the one when it's been working with Jalen. So might as well just keep giving it to him.
yeah. All right. So next up we got Josh Jacobs to the Packers, 4 years, 48 mil.
Yeah,
Um,
that was a
you
big
pointed out,
surprise.
yeah, you pointed out that there's a option after the first year for the team to get out. This was probably the biggest surprise so far the last couple of days. The youngest running back, I believe that was a free agent, signed in one of the best situations with one of the youngest offenses. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he'll be a huge help for Green Bay because I mean they're a super young team. I think what was it, like the fourth youngest of all
Something like that.
time
Yeah.
in the playoffs or something. So they're a good young team, and they just got rid of Aaron Jones, and I think Josh Jacobs will definitely help him out because he's a three down back. So without having uh Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon, I think having Jacobs be that three down back, and then they'll probably draft somebody else too. Um, but I think he'll definitely be a huge help.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think he's going to have the opportunity to catch a lot of passes. Obviously, he'll get some
Mhm.
red zone looks, and he has a skill set that is close enough to Aaron Jones, where they do more with less. I think athletically than a lot of their peers. So they'll make that work. And I do like the financial commitment overall. A lot of these running backs, these better backs, they're getting paid this year, which is interesting compared to last year. You
Yeah,
see some
last
financial
year it
commitments.
was yeah.
So the money's saying they're going to get used. So let's hope for that. Next up, we got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, 2 years, 16 mil for the Ravens. I think 1 year is 9 mil guaranteed on this deal. Um, I love this because he's going to step into the Gus Edwards role, become that physical presence in the offense. They haven't really had a good running back the last couple of years, um, and expect them to get a lot of work, get a lot of red zone touches. Obviously, they have a good line, a good running game, decent outside weapons, and a lot. It's just a good offense, a high scoring offense. So, high scoring offense means a lot of possible points for the back. So, I'm very excited. I expect to see him make a couple more highlight stiff arms on some people this season.
Yeah.
And the only downside to Henry has always been the same. So it's the receiving upside, and they have Justice Hill still on the roster. So he's a good third down pass catching back. So I think they have a good 1-2 punch right now.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I thought it was a great fit. Like you said, they're looking for somebody at running back that, like you said, that is a ground and pound guy, but also to stay healthy. And I feel like he's stayed pretty healthy his career. He's had a couple injuries, but not really anything major. I do like that it wasn't a super crazy high price he was asking for. Because that definitely helps the Ravens. They can go out get more weapons or anything else that they need. But I do find it interesting that this is kind of like the exact opposite of Saquon Philly because Henry is going to get all the goal line carries because they want to protect Lamar from getting injured.
Yep.
But then in Philly, uh, Hurts is going to get all the goal line carries because they want to protect Barkley from getting injured. So I find that a little, um, I don't know, I guess kind of weird because normally you would think of your back as the guy you want to give the ball to, but I guess with Saquon, he's a little injury prone, so you want to keep him fresh as long as you can.
Yeah, I mean, we could be wrong too. That whole mindset of the team may change this season. Barkley may be
Yeah,
getting a lot of
true.
goal line work. I mean, we haven't seen him in the team yet, but uh, I think it comes down to Hurts. You know, they always say like he squats like 600 some pounds. So not too many
Oh,
quarterbacks
but
can
they
do
did
that.
lose.
And
But yeah, they did lose Jason Kelsey, so they might not be able to do the tush push as successfully.
they've been backfilling that O line for years. I don't really think it's going to be that big of a deal. I know he's one of the best centers ever, but they'll be fine.
Yeah.
So next up on the
All right.
list, we got Henry's old team, the Titans. They went out and signed Tony Pollard to a 3-year deal for 24 mil. Um, everyone is probably upset by this move, I think, because they thought Tajay Spears was going to take over the backfield and kind of get
Mm-hmm.
a lesser known backfield mate. But you're taking what I believe is a former Pro Bowler, someone with a similar skill set to Spears on a really bad offense and right now on paper a bad line. Now I know they brought in the greatest line coach pretty much in history in Callahan and his son is the head coach, but Pollard showed some flashes. But I mean, can you really expect him to be the same player after a broken leg? I believe at 28, probably
Mm-hmm.
not. So I don't know. I feel like at this point they're going to cannibalize each other.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, whether you have Spears on your fantasy team or uh, Tony Pollard, yeah, like you said, you're going to be upset because they're just going to take carries away from each other. Um, I do like the deal though for the team itself though, um, because I think Pollard works best when he's not the lead back, when he's kind of the guy that you so you have Spears be the first back that runs on first and second down. Then when you're at like third and one, third and two or whatever, you just get the ball to Pollard and then he gets you a couple yards and then also a couple times he could shoot off for 20, 30 yards. So I like the the fact that they can go off of each other for the team. But as far as fantasy, yeah, it's not going to work out for them.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. I think they probably have like RB2, RB3 scoring all year. You know, they're going to each have their
Yeah.
hot and cold weeks.
Hmm.
Next up on the list, we have Austin Eckler signing a 2-year deal with the Commanders. So I love this deal for them because he's a complete opposite skill set to Brian Robinson.
Ryan Robinson.
They have some good receivers on the outside. They signed Ertz to band-aid the tight end position. Also, a Cole Turner, I believe is his name, who has some
Mm,
athletic promise. Um, Obviously, you're going to get a top quarterback, and you really, other than a really poor line, you have a lot of pieces in place on the offensive, like skill positions to succeed. So I think he's going to step into a nice third down role here, and get some meaningful touches too, maybe in the red zone or in between the tackles on occasion. But he's probably like a 10 to 15 touch guy, which is what he should be at this point in his career. And I think he can be efficient with it, ideally, as long as he's healthy. He's not the same player he
Yeah.
was, but I think he can do something.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. It was I feel like they got exactly what they spent with that. So 8 million and then on average like 4.1 mil a year. Because if you look at like Derrick Henry, he's getting 8 million a year. Josh Jacobs, he's getting 12. Saquon 12. Um, so obviously Eckler is definitely below all those guys. So I think they're getting what they're paying for, and he's I feel like he's not a scrub. So they definitely still have a good back that they can pair with, like you said, Brian Robinson. Um, so yeah, I think it was a good team deal.
Yeah, for that price too, I think the upside outweighs the salary significantly.
Mhm.
All right, next up we got DeAndre Swift joining the Bears, 3 years, 24 mil. Swift is joining the most confusing backfield in the league because you have a
Yeah.
bunch of pieces that show some promise, but they don't have complete skill sets on paper. Swift is made of glue and band aids and rubber bands, and Roshan is a bruiser who can catch some passes, and Khalil Herbert is a good rusher with no hands and no pass blocking. So they have a good, vast skill set back there. I just
Yeah.
don't know if I want any of them.
Yeah, I mean, Swift did show, I feel like some some good plays, some good play last year. Um, but yeah, just not really uh enough where you can trust him, especially in this offense now. Um, but I feel like he'll be the one back behind or in front of the other two. I feel like he'll get most of the carries.
Yeah, the money says that. I'm just curious, do they use Swift as the between the 20s rusher and then Roshan gets red zone work for the power aspect and he's splitting time in there because he's a good pass protector on third down? I don't know.
Mhm.
Also, Herbert and Swift have been nicked up, and Roshan got hurt with a couple of concussions last year too. Just the way he runs. So this may be a if you're gonna have a young quarterback and a cheap deal, you can afford to have the depth at this position and just you know keep the pressure off him early. Maybe commit to the run a little bit more than you would expect, and if you get injuries, you can get by without having any concerns.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and they'll probably just ride whoever has the hot hand, right? So,
Yep.
yeah. Okay.
Next up, Jones. Aaron Jones signed with the Vikings for one
Yeah.
year for 7 mil.
Yeah, that was a big surprise to me. Just because going in his own division from the Packers to the Vikings, I'm sure all the fans for Green Bay probably aren't too happy, but I mean, he was definitely he was definitely loved by Green Bay, so they're probably like, "Oh, good for him. He got a deal."
Yeah, he's a good player still. He's just been banged up a lot recently between soft tissue and his knee, and he's had some knee problems throughout his career. I think he is a good piece in this offense at a respectable price. There's a lot of good skill players on this team at this point. As soon as Hawk comes back, hopefully healthy. Um, my only thing is he's obviously not their long term solution. So I'd be curious to see if they bring in another young back through the draft to kind of overlap with him. And Ty Chandler showed a little bit last year. But again, this could be a team that drafts a young quarterback and they may commit to have a strong running game to kind of, take the pressure off, have a little bit of play action game instead of just sitting back there and in the shotgun with some of these guys. So I'd be curious to see
Yeah.
how he does. I think his upside is definitely down though, being on the Vikings compared to the Packers.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they'll draft. Um, and so if they don't draft a quarterback, they got Sam. So right, they got
Arnold.
yeah, Sam Darnold. But then, so who's they got one other guy that they had last year. He was the
Not,
backup to Kirk.
I don't, it's not Bethard, but it's like the same kind of guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, between the two of them, I feel like it would probably be Sam that would
Mullins,
win the
sorry,
job.
Mullins. The other San
Oh, it's
Fran.
Mullins?
Yeah,
Oh, well, if that's the case, I feel like that'd be
they still have
closer then.
Dobbs too. Like it again. I don't think Darnold's the most talented, but do Darnold, Mullins, and Dobbs really separate from each other? Probably not. You're gonna just have.
No, I mean they've all at one point in their career like played a whole bunch of games because of injury, and
Yep.
I feel like Dobbs had a couple really good games, but then he kind of fell off a little bit. Um, Mullins played pretty consistent, but not like amazing. But I would say it was consistent, but um, when he was with I think the 49ers, right? So
Yep.
and then obviously Sam we know he had what like one the first good year or the first year was average for him and then just kind of declined from there.
Yeah, like a 4 game stretch,
But
and the Panthers would look like geniuses too for that trade.
yeah, but then yeah, when he was with the Jets, kind of fell off the rails. But then yeah, when he yeah, I think it was like the first 4 years with the Panthers or first 4 games with the
Yep.
Panthers, he had it was good. But then yeah, but I
Yeah.
feel like whoever's at quarterback, they'll like having Jones because they can just dump the ball off to him.
Yeah, it'll be like a security blanket, so you might be able to get some
Yeah,
garbage points and stuff like that through him. I don't see the touchdown upside again with him.
yeah.
All right, so another big name, Joe Mixon, was cut last night, and then he was traded to the Houston Texans. He goes to a very good offense, and he is the name and the body that everyone wanted on that team. He's got hands, he's got third down ability, he's a good rusher. He's a little bit of a shell of himself because he's later in his career, but I like him and I like the pieces they have around that whole offense.
Yeah, I do like the move. I'm just trying to find him. Oh, okay. Yeah, so yeah, I do like the move. Um, do we know so he's obviously still under the same contract that he was with Cincinnati,
Yeah, it's like I think it's like 5 million or something like that ish in that ballpark.
and it's just 1 year.
Yeah, it's he signed a 2 year deal I think last year, or
Okay.
renegotiated a 2 year deal or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think that it was smart of them to get him with the 1 year because honestly, I think that's really all he's got left is just one one last good year before he starts to decline. I mean,
Yep.
he really already kind of has gone the decline, but where he can play at that level where he can still be either the number one or like a 1A, 1B.
Yep.
I think this year is going to be his last year of that.
I agree. Yeah, I think a lot of these guys, the end is near, but this kind of just shows you what the NFL thinks of the talent around them still at this point.
Mm.
And then the last three signings we'll bring up. Devin Singletary went to the Giants, Gus
Motor.
Edwards to the Chargers, and Zach Moss to the Bengals. So, of these three, do any of these interest you?
Yeah, actually, I really like the one with Zach Moss. I feel like he came on really strong last year um, with the Colts. Um, and I mean, I guess I do also like the deal with the Chargers with Gus Edwards, um, especially because so I think it was 6.5 million for
Yep.
Edwards. Yeah, 6.5. So only 3 million a year for the 2 years. So I feel like for again, like I was saying, I think with Eckler, they paid for what they got for, and he's still a good talent. He can still get you some yards when you need it. Um, but yeah, I like the Moss to replace Mixon because he's younger. I feel like he's kind of similar to Mixon, but obviously younger. Not like an exact um play style, but I feel like they're similar.
Um, I think I like the Edwards deal the most just because he's going with the Harbaugh brother, reunited with Greg Roman, and I expect him to run some smash mouth football. So he's going to be the power back in the system, probably the 1B to something they get in the draft. They get Corum or something like that from Michigan. I wouldn't be surprised. So I like the Edwards
Oh yeah, that'd
deal.
be great for them
Yep.
to get the guy from Michigan, especially with Harbaugh there now.
Yep. I don't want to touch anything to do with the Giants. And I think Zach Moss is a bum, like a plotter.
You think?
So,
Really?
yeah, I will never like him.
I mean, on the Bills, he was definitely not good, but I feel like that was just because the Bills weren't playing him correctly. I mean, with the Colts, he had really nice, what, 1 or 2 years, right?
It was just I think this year, but his best games came on games that gave him like 35 carries. So I don't know. I don't think he's very efficient, and I'd like to
Yeah.
see some efficiency. So
I mean, he is a pretty good receiver, isn't he? Good pass catcher.
he's okay. I would say he
So
does everything Mixon does at this point, but worse, even though Mixon's old. I mean, serious. I think
yeah,
he is. Yeah, I think he is a watered down version of Mixon, as much as Mixon is like deteriorated over time. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I think it's a smart move for them, though. It's a capable person in the backfield.
yeah. For the Giants, going to the Giants real quick. I think the only reason that they signed him is because when he was with Buffalo, they had Brian Dable, so they kind of they know each other, so I'm sure he probably has the same system. They're familiar with it. Um, so yeah, that's why I think they signed him. That just because of the familiarity.
I think he's gonna have a lot of 40-yard games.
Yeah,
I'm looking
probably.
forward to it. So, um, so of all these, just to close up, which was your favorite signing?
The one. Okay, so I guess two things. The one that I think made the most sense was Baltimore. But then the one that I liked the most, kind of torn between Jacobs and Barkley. Think that I'm leaning towards Jacobs a little bit more. Just because that team is so young with Green Bay, and I feel like he can definitely help them. So yeah, I think I like Jacobs the best.
I like the Henry deal. I think it's a low hanging fruit, but I think is what they wanted, and I think that's
Mhm.
probably on paper the best team of all of these. So I follow the successful team here.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll continue our free agency recap, but be sure to subscribe and like this video.